good music, food, entertainment, and great thing to do on the 4th of July. And then also the Know Your Neighbor event, which was supposed to be last week, has been rescheduled to next week on Thursday, July 11th, from 5 to 7 at the JC Pavilion in Lake Park. And that's all I have. And City Manager?
I want to thank Lee for his help in organizing the event at the bridge today. A lot of hard work, and came off really well. Also want to acknowledge that Winona was granted the Step 2 of the Green Steps City program. I think there's 5 steps total, and we've progressed from 1 to 2. So congratulations to John Howard and all of the many volunteers who are helping to make Winona a better place to live. Thank you.
Thank you. Roll call.
Mayor Peterson.
Here.
Councilman Thurley.
Here.
Moeller.
Here.
Alexander.
Here.
Iden. Here. Borzakowski.
Here.
Scholmeyer.
Here.
Under the petitions, requests, and communications, item 3.1 is the liquor license renewal for the America Inn. They did transfer the sale of the hotel on June 27th to Roots Hospitality, and so now they're looking to renew the license for the term of July 1st through June 30th.
Move to approve that request.
Second.
Motion by Al, seconded by Michelle. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes.
Item 3.2 is the Winona Public Library street closure request for 2 events on Saturday, July 13th. They will have food vendors, including food trucks. And on Friday, August 9th, close Johnson Street from 8 to 2 for an end-of-summer reading program.
Move to approve that request. Second.
Motion by Michelle, seconded by Eileen. Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Item 3.3 is the sign and banner schedule, and I did send out an updated list this afternoon. Added a couple more in there, but this is for the second half of 2019.
Move to approve that request.
Sign and
I
banner.
will, okay, or I can second it.
Motion by George, seconded by Michelle. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Item 3.4 is the Goodview Gallup Street closure request for Saturday, August 17th.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Michelle, seconded by Al. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign. Carries.
Item 3.5 is the Winona State University Homecoming Parade on Saturday, October 12th.
Move to approve that
Second
request.
that.
Motion by Michelle, seconded by Pam. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Item 3.6 is the license agreement for the Faith Fest event on Saturday, August 17th.
Move to approve that license agreement.
Second.
Motion by Michelle, seconded by George.
Christopher is here.
See, you're here. Do you want to say anything? Okay. Any questions?
Do
George?
you want to give us a verse or two? Or aren't you one of the singers?
In a better day, maybe.
Okay. Good event, so.
Good.
Anybody have any questions? If not, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Item 3.7 is a request to close Lake Park Drive by Windcraft on Saturday, July 28th.
Move to approve that request.
Second that.
Motion by Michelle, seconded by Pam. Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Item 3.8 is the Let's Levy special event request to have food trucks within Levy Park.
Move to approve.
Motion by Pam, seconded by Michelle. All those any questions?
Yeah,
Al?
question. Do you know when the dates and times will be announced for that? Says will vary, but just out of curiosity.
Yep, Mayor and Council, this year with the Let's Levy events where we do more of like the patio furniture and fire pits, et cetera, and have the food trucks down will vary. This year it's for a good reason, because we're having more rentals in the space. And so it's kind of based on the rentals. We're going to try to have one very close to or follow up to the July 4th event. So I would assume mid-July will likely be the first event. So we'll get those notices out as soon as possible.
Anything else? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign. Carries.
Under unfinished business, item 4.1 is to award the contract for the Masonic Temple exterior restoration to Innovative Masonry Restoration with a bid of $373,000.
Make a motion to adopt the attached resolution.
Second.
Motion by Michelle, seconded by Paul. Discussion? George?
Yeah, our share of this is 34,465. Is that above and beyond this year?
So Mayor and Council, it is above that amount. We are asking to add up to $94,000 from the facility fund. So if I do that quick math, we're at about $128,000 is the city commitment for the project. You had previously approved the $34,465 as a match.
And some of that's contingency, I
So
understand.
some of that is
So
contingency,
that
that's
may or
why.
may not be spent.
Correct.
And how much of that's contingency?
I think it is right around 38,000 is roughly a contingency for this project.
Any other questions? Al?
Yeah, Chad, we talked about the contingency. Assuming that contingency is not needed, those funds then are returned to the facility fund?
Mayor and council, technically what happens is they're not even drawn out of the facility fund. We kind of do it as an end of project. We see how much we spent. So if we spend, 92, then
It doesn't come?
it doesn't even come out.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I noticed in the Miller Dunwoody letter, they talk about this company planning on testing I don't know if it's reviewing the water testing, water samples, and masonry samples. They're going to test it as soon as possible with the water samples. I assume that's where the contingency would come in if the water samples and this company's expertise are not quite a match. Is that your understanding as well?
Mayor and council, the water samples were taken before,
Okay.
which helped develop the scope of work. And what that sentence means is that within their bidding process, Innovative Masonry recognizes and verifies that these pre-tests were done.
Okay.
Yep. So so basically it says they've confirmed their understanding of the review of the mortar testing and samples.
And you just don't like surprises. That
Yep.
sort of led me to maybe surprise. Okay, thank you.
Anything else? All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Under new business, item 5.1 is a request to purchase a Zamboni.
Make a motion to execute the attached agreement.
Second.
We have a motion by Michelle and seconded by George. Discussion? Al?
I just did some research on Zamboni equipment. It's fascinating. It was invented in 1949 by Fred Zamboni out in California, of all places. Why California for an ice machine? And apparently, they're like the only one or two, if not the only company that makes this kind of device. And I noticed in the specifications they talked about using gasoline or LPG fuel choices. Is this going to be LPG or gasoline? I think the existing is gas, isn't it?
Propane.
Propane.
So Mayor and council, it is a propane machine. We did look at electric. We had some sizing issues with the electric as well as the charge for the electric because of the 2 sheets of ice. So it becomes very difficult to do those 2 sheets of ice on one charge. So
This is the most efficient use of those funds to okay. Hey,
Chad, so what happens to the old Zamboni? Does that have any value?
Mayor and council, it does. It has just shy of $16,000 trade-in value.
Okay, was that in here?
Yes,
Yeah.
it's
I missed it.
tucked in the specifications.
Okay.
So we will use that machine up until we, verify that the new one is working and operable, and then at that point, we'll trade it in.
Okay.
final
Steve?
comment.
Al's got a
Oh, Al.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Al, you still have questions?
Yeah, well, I was just going to make a comment that, with all the ice sheets in Minnesota, you'd think they'd put it on the state contract for Zambonis.
It is.
It is on, oh,
It
it's
is.
on. Oh,
And this is actually a national contract, but it's recognized by the state.
ah,
So kudos to Amy for finding, because we thought it was going to be a lot more expensive. And the other option is an Olympia, or Olympic, and they're much, much more expensive. Their salesman will tell you it's better than a Zamboni, but come on.
Gotta go with the original.
Gotta go with the original.
Pam?
I just have a short question. How long are these expected to last?
Mayor and council, with the service that Central Garage provides, I think this is probably about a 15 to 20-year machine or piece of equipment, which is saying a lot. The last one needed to be refurbished, again, before we took control of it. But I think, again, I have a lot of confidence in our Central Garage, their annual maintenance. This is probably a 15 to 20-year piece of equipment.
And one of the problems here is that if it goes down, if we can't repair it, it's hard to get another one. If you're up in the cities, they actually have spares and they'll bring it out and drop one off. It's a lot more difficult to get that to happen here. And if you lose a Zamboni, you have to cancel the events. So hockey tournaments and all of those things get affected, and upset hockey parents are not fun to be around. Having been one once.
Anything else? No? Looks like we're ready to vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Item 5.2 is the Levy Park Dock Agreement with Winona State.
Make a motion to approve the attached agreement.
Second.
Motion by Michelle, seconded by Paul. Discussion. Paul?
So I think that I'll probably be asking this question again later on. Can we assume some of the damage to this dock a result of flooding? And is that recoverable from insurance? Through FEMA or something? I'm assuming we have a FEMA application in from this year. I'm wondering if this is part of it.
Mayor and council, we do a FEMA application, and you'll see that in the next item or two that's coming up. We will add this. We think that it was likely that it was some tree damage on some underneath parts of the dock. There are some repairs, though, that aren't related to the high water. But one of the floats, as I understand it, likely was damaged, probably from a branch or log or tree, I guess. So we will at least submit to see if it qualifies.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Item 5.3 is the Prairie Island Campground High Water Mitigation Request.
Make a motion to transfer the $48,000 from the facility fund.
Second.
Motion by Michelle, I think seconded by Paul.
Well, that would be the same question then. Are we going to be able to recover some of this through flood mitigation?
So Mayor and Council, we have made some initial inquiries with Winona County Emergency Management, so we will apply for reimbursement. Recreational amenities do qualify for reimbursement. We're looking at Prairie Island, the dock, and then Westfield Golf Course has recently asked for some assistance. And so we'll look at those three facilities through that reimbursement program.
Okay.
Chad, I have a question. I guess I'm just curious. It says that we pulled electrical services from the recent installation as a precautionary measure. Is that something we're going to have to do every year? There's high water, or is there some way to raise them up higher? I'm not sure exactly what.
Mayor and Council, it's likely that we will need to do that every high water event. Jamie probably can help me with this. I think right around 17 feet or 16 feet, we start getting nervous about it. One option is to bag each of those services, which is it's a recommended use. You basically double bag those and then hope When we know that the water's coming up high enough and it could be submerged for a long period of time, then, our contractor has suggested you pull those out, but you're gonna pay a fee. And basically, yep, it's a fee, potentially annually need to pay, but the alternative, replacing it, all of it is worth the, I guess, that extra work and charge. So in the 2020 budget now, we'll have a line item for this going forward.
Our estimates were, there's roughly $30,000 worth of receptacles and breakers in those boxes. So when we kind of looked at the calculation, and as we all know, it's hard to predict flooding, but I think we did the right thing this time because the bags are an option, but if they get poked by floating debris, they lose that capture of air pressure that keeps it out. Also, a long-term flood like this, there's condensation that builds in there, and receptacles corrode anyway, just from condensation. So the bagging is more of an option if we see it's going to spike, it's going to come up, it's a real quick thing. It's duct tape and plastic bags. Pulling them is, I guess, really the thing to do from what we learned.
Thank you. Pam?
Well, going forward, though, I'd like to know what it would take to solve this problem by raising them up or...
We can raise the campground, but it's hard to do. I mean, in all reality,
Right.
it's hard because you can't raise them
The
up
pedestal.
and plug in campers. There's a
Oh, okay,
there's a
that's
certain-
what we're
there's a
talking
certain
about.
height that they need to be
Okay.
for code, so raising them doesn't work. And we certainly have lower parts of the campground and higher parts, and
Yeah.
those are judgment calls that, we can make. We can decide to bag some, pull some, to be less, but
Okay.
this year the whole place was underwater.
I thought we were talking about some central facility
No,
that could
these
be...
are at every single site in the electric end of the campground.
Okay.
Those are what we hold. All the other services are up above historic flood heights, at the high heights. So those are way up. Those are the main services, but these are the actual plugins.
Okay, thank you.
And we looked at that when we did the project a couple years ago, about raising them up, but it doesn't work.
Al?
Sympathy to you for going through all of this, nothing you can do about it, but, sure people understand about it.
It's certainly a slow, rough start to the year, but it's also, looking at PACE reports. We're starting to recover, but better than I had hoped, actually. The last few weeks are looking significantly better. So we still have some sites that are not open, just there's no grass or mud. There's also things like the flood silt,
Oh, yeah.
which sat there for so long that we have this membrane in the campground that holds water, so now we have standing water issues, and it doesn't drain out, but it also doesn't let grass grow up. So we've been doing some things like aerating and poking holes in it to try to get it to drain, but, people are still coming.
Good. Question on the item before us. The explanation in our packet says that there's a longer-term solution to moving the road at $25,000. Does this thing we're voting on now include that or not? It does? Oh, good.
Mayor and council, yes. It's the existing northerly interior road of the campground is going to be moved south.
So that's probably where some of that
permanently.
water is.
Yeah, there's just some topography in those areas that trap water, create ponds, and also just over years have probably settled, don't work, water doesn't flow out of them properly, and they just become, rarely usable for us, even heavy rains, and they just get soaked. So some of those areas, and also the riverfront's eroding, so long-term ideas that we need to move back from that river, restore the riverfront.
That's been a constant
Yeah.
for years. So.
Yep, it is.
Good, I'm glad you're addressing that, getting some ideas for it. That's all.
Anybody have anything else? Steve?
I just think it's a huge testament to the programming that you do out there. And it's really not just the campground, it's a community asset. I mean, from the food and the music and the other events you have out there and the way that you've opened that up for everybody, You're doing a great job out there.
Thank you.
All right, I think we're ready to vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Item 5.4 is the license from the Minnesota DNR for water main and sanitary sewer crossing on Gilmore Creek at Wildwood Drive.
Make a motion to adopt the attached resolutions.
Motion by Michelle, seconded by Al. Discussion? Al?
I just have a comment. You know, I know this is needed for this project to move forward. I certainly support it, otherwise I wouldn't have seconded it. But, you know, this costs us $237 for each of those crossings, or $474 total. And if you look at the license, and this is all facetious, so don't take this serious, this is just me talking. The license is $237, it's a term of 50 years. But I didn't find anywhere in that license that said that they had to be paid right away. So facetiously, I'm suggesting that we divide the total cost of $474 by 50 and pay them that amount every year for 50 years, or $9.48 a year. Obviously, this is not the way the state is working, but maybe they need to tighten up their contracts a little bit, so that doesn't exist in here. I'm not making that a suggestion. I'm not making that a motion, but I'm just remarking about it.
So, Mayor and Council, in the letter to the city where they sent the agreements, they said sign in blue ink, and you must include payment or they will not execute them.
Well,
So they
didn't
have
say
to
what payment did they?
In the letter to the city, it says you must pay upon sending the execute, or they won't sign it.
Okay. All right, well, again,
you tried.
I didn't have that letter here,
Right.
so.
I think we'll be good.
And they did have the word execute
Yes.
in there, Al.
I know they did. That's why I'm making those preference.
We don't take them literally.
I'm not serious.
All right, I think we're ready to vote.
Yeah, really.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Item 5.5 is the certification of completion, final estimate, and resolution of acceptance for the 2018 Hamilton Street reconstruction project.
Move to approve the attached resolution.
Second that.
Motion by George and seconded by Pam. Discussion. George?
What's the latest on the Hamilton Street Railroad crossing? Okay. So, let us know when you get one, so. Because that was gonna be done as it was just reopened or closed or whatever it was, but like I say, it's been open now for, well over a year, and, they're still bouncing over that one set of tracks, so,
That never goes away. Remember, Sioux Street, it's been a couple years.
yes,
You
yes.
still, you get a little lift.
They fixed Sue, and I think it's worse.
No, that's what Jerry said.
Yeah.
Actually, what he really wanted was the street just to be closed permanently, but,
We were
he did.
directed,
He just wanted it to be closed.
we were directed by council to not fix that crossing.
If somebody uses it a lot, I think it
Yes,
should be
thank
fixed.
you. I do too.
Anything else? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Item 5.6 is a discussion regarding parking violations on West 3rd Street.
I think we've all heard a lot from neighbors and various people over there about the problems. I don't know, somebody want to make a motion?
I don't think we need a motion, right?
No,
Oh, we
Just
didn't.
discussing.
Okay.
So I have questions, though.
Yeah,
If I
yeah.
can. Okay. So just for clarification, because if I understand correctly, you're suggesting we put in a public safety no parking zone on 3rd Street by Watkins facility, and just on that little stretch of block.
correct.
And the rationale would be because the road isn't wide.
The road is not wide, correct. It's already a no parking zone. The problem is that we don't get their attention with a $10 parking ticket.
Okay, so I just wanted to clarify this because I suspect that there are a number of neighborhoods in the city of Winona where trucks park waiting to get in or out of a facility. And if we do this here, it's going to come up for everywhere. And I also feel like this is going to push that truck issue onto another side street or around the block or down on 4th. I mean, they're going to go somewhere. If they're waiting to load or unload, where are we suggesting they go?
They have a plan. The plan is to park in a lot that Lawrence has secured.
Okay,
The Lawrence trucks do that. The problem is the other trucks that come from out of state that are passing through, and they bid on hauling the material. And so those drivers that are either unaware, they don't care to be aware, or they're transit in nature, so they just park, they pick up the load and they go. I mean, and they'll never come back to Winona again,
okay.
by and large. So this is a multi-approach that we're going to take. This is one step. The second step that we've been talking about with the attorney and with the police department is a different enforcement tool that we'll use that will be more directed towards the driver's CDL license. We think that will get their attention long-term. So while yes, this could be applied into other areas of the community, the way that we've written it is that due to the nature of the road and the amount of traffic, that may or may not exist in these other areas that we may get pressed on.
That's what I wanted to make sure, because I could see us getting inundated with a lot of requests just because of where they're situated in the city. And there are only so many places trucks can go in our downtown. So I understand what you're suggesting here, and they have another place to go that won't affect the neighborhoods surrounding where there are more houses?
Correct.
Okay. And is this apply to every vehicle or just truck vehicles?
This would apply to any vehicle.
Okay, that answers all my questions. I just wanted to make sure, because I was very concerned about, I mean, I don't want to hurt business, but I want to make the neighborhoods as safe as possible, but I wanted to make sure we had a specific, in the ordinance, it was very specific about why this location was chosen.
And the width of the road is fairly unique in the community. So again, at another area, they would have to prove that the same conditions exist or worse, and we would look at those. As you can tell, we've been trying to be very patient and work with the trucking company. They had a solution, it's just not working. And so we feel the need to go to another step, which is why we're recommending this one. There had been suggestions about making the fine even higher. That pushes it into a misdemeanor offense, is my understanding, even $301. That then takes us into a whole different type of enforcement action, and we don't think that it's worthy of that type of need. And the police chief can certainly answer that legal question from an enforcement standpoint, but he feels that this will work to some extent. This isn't going to solve the problem either. The going after the driver's CDL may ultimately be, sort of that nuclear option that might get their attention.
Well, this will pretty much only work if we enforce it too. And assuming the chief feels they can enforce this.
Yeah, definitely will give the officers another tool. Like the city manager said, we're not expecting it to stop the problem, but when the officers are issuing a $10 ticket to the trucks, the drivers ask, can I get towed for this? And the response is, well, not technically for 4 hours. Say, can I pay you now? And I mean, they're sitting out their time. So our hope is an increased fine will grab their attention a little bit more. The officers that have been trying to work with the company, enforce, try to get them to move voluntarily, and the neighborhood down there. I mean, I think just about everybody here is taking calls on that. Maybe not everybody.
Not one.
Really?
Not one. And I drive that street so often, I've never seen a truck parked there. Now, I've seen them
Really?
blocking
Oh, man.
3rd Street
I've been
when
up
they
for
backed
that.
in, but
Yeah.
I've never seen a truck parked there, and I've not received one call about it. And if we're talking about the street I'm talking about, it's just one house, so on that little section.
It's a pretty
Or is it
long
two?
stretch without any other outlet. I think it goes from, is it Ewing to Bend? So there's quite a few blocks in between, and there's other businesses and.
You would think as often as I drive 3rd, I would have seen it, but I never have seen a truck parked there ever.
Well, I've seen plenty of them parked there, and I've had a lot of complaints. So. I think George had his hand up first. Yeah.
Wait, thank you. That building, or that warehouse, as we want to call it, that building does not have the outside surroundings to do the volume of freight that is being shipped out of there right now. The biggest problem is there is no staging area. Now, I talked with Brian today, and then he gave me a message back. I have not had a chance to talk with him, but I was down that way today. I was up there a couple of weeks ago doing some work. But as you approach, you go over those railroad tracks, there is a road, it's a dirt road that goes behind that building in some green space. You could probably stage about probably maybe 12 semis back there. So when they're ready to load, they get their call and they come around. I know it's very hard to back in to that facility. It is not large enough to get a swing. When that building was built, the longest trailer you had was 48 feet with a day cab. Now today they're 53, and you put on another 10, 15 feet onto the tractor that they drive. But there is no room for the staging. The local guys from town, I see them, they come in, zip, zip, they can back in, no problem. Yeah, I'm coming from New Jersey. I go to Peerless Chain, I drop off a load of rod wire. Now I got to head up here to get a load of flour, and I don't have a clue where I'm going, and I sure as hell can't back into it. The problem is there's no place for them to stage, and perhaps if that is Bay State's product that they're shipping out, why could these trucks, when they come to town, first stop at Bay State where they have a lot of room to stage in the back and just call them up as you need them? It eliminates a lot of congestion.
Steve, you want to respond?
There is staging. It's over on 2nd Street on Mickrid's property. You open it up and let Lawrence park there. The problem is that everyone's sort of passing the buck on this. It's Bay State's flour. Lawrence is charged with taking the product out of the factory and moving it into a staging facility, into the warehouse. Once it goes into the warehouse, it's up to whoever bids lowest to buy the product and move it out, or highest, or however it works. And so Lawrence, once it's there, it's not even theirs anymore. It belongs to whoever's buying it to move it. And again, with drivers that are from all over the country, to try to get them to understand to go to a lot on 2nd Street and wait for your radio call, they're not doing it. And our officers been trying to get them to do that. The people from Lawrence have been trying to do that, even though they say it's really out of our hands. We'll try to help. It's working for them. It just doesn't work for those transient drivers. That's why we think we need to do this. We've been very patient. We thought they had a good working plan. It's not working out.
So in a sense, we could hold Lawrence accountable or not?
I don't think so. We've tried. Believe me. I mean, we've worked with our attorney to see who could we, is there one person? Is there one entity from Bay State on down? But it's the ownership of the product and who's in charge of moving it.
Because I think when Watkins operated that, all they had were the straight trucks. They didn't have no 53-foot semi.
Right. And the reason they're there is because Lawrence was supposed to build a food-grade warehouse over in the industrial park, and we couldn't get that project done last year. And so when they had to leave Mickrid's property, they had to find one in town, and Watkins is the only one that was available.
So
That's why they're down there. So once this gets built down here, the new building, then this won't be a problem out there.
That eliminates that, right, so.
I think Al and then Paul.
Yeah, I think, again, thanks to staff and the police department for working. I know I've had a few calls, and I've called a few of the residents there about this. And, their contention too is that not only is it a traffic issue, but it's also a safety issue, as the memo states, that definitely if a truck does hit something or some vehicle or a pedestrian or a cyclist or something, it might be a real serious issue. So I appreciate the efforts that they've done for that. And I'm in support of the increased fine and establishment of the public safety no parking zone is needed. And even if once the Bay State, the flower handling solution is underway and that's used, I'm sure that warehouse will be used perhaps for other things, and perhaps the safety zone will have some value as well going forward. And then one minor point on page 2 of the proposed ordinance where it says 3rd Street, both sides between Harvester Street and Ewing Street. Harvester is an avenue. Just a technical thing. One of the few avenues we have in Winona. It's Harvester Avenue. Minor point.
Chief, did you want to say something? Or just, there to respond to.
Yeah, that was pretty much it. I think it was summarized pretty good. If you have any other questions, I'd be happy to answer. I mean, we've talked about the fine amount quite a bit. I think I agree that would be appropriate.
Okay. We'll go to Paul then.
So I have gotten calls, and I had one very upset mother because the trucks were actually coming into the neighborhood and actually going down West 4th Street toward the Aquatic Center to get onto 5th. And that's a very big concern. I mean, we have, first off, 4th Street is narrower there than typical. And then making that corner at the Aquatic Center and getting back on the 5th is really problematic. So are we watching them go through the neighborhood at all and then ticketing them as well?
We have tried to get down there as often as we can, which isn't all of the time, obviously. I mean, it's pretty hit and miss, but we respond as quickly as we can to calls, and we have had officers, when staffing allows, that are just specifically there for a period of time, watching both the no parking area and the truck routes.
All right, I appreciate the help, but there has been some, and I haven't gotten any calls on parking. I've gotten calls on trucks going through the neighborhood.
Yeah.
That's what I was just gonna say, that's the only call I've gotten is on the west end of town, trucks are going down streets that trucks have never been on.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of concern, and they're not sure what to give you for information, if they should call the 911, well, they don't know what to do. But they're frequently going down streets like Sioux Street, which is not a truck route. I mean, I've not ever seen them, but apparently on the, like the other side of Broadway, they're traveling down streets that are not intended to be, or they're coming all the way down Sioux to get onto Gilmore, and they don't know what to do when they see it.
A lot of them are coming into town, as the city manager mentioned, from other states, and it's probably their first time, and they're looking at their GPS,
Yep.
which is a truck route
Right, I see
GPS,
them pull over watching
and
it.
they say, look, it's taking me down this street. So obviously there's some
A glitch.
GPS programs that are better than others,
Got it.
perhaps, but we carry the truck route maps in the squads and try to get them back on the routes too when we come across them.
Thank you.
I do think it's important, though, that you mentioned to the council a bit about how difficult it is to enforce that on a truck driver who's not on a truck route driving,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
They can take the most direct route, and then we have to kind of put together where they came from too. So there are some difficulties with that, and you know, almost all of them are very responsive to getting right back on the truck route when we do stop them too. It's simply that they were misinformed by their GPS, or they take a wrong turn. Most of them don't understand the different color signs designating the truck routes, but you know, the ones that are coming back, hopefully, and the local ones are much better.
so it's not just if they're off the truck route, you can pull them over and give them a ticket. I mean,
You gotta know,
there's lots of other circumstances that you
Where
have to.
they left
Right.
the last designated route and what their destination is too.
I just wanted the council and the community to hear that, because they think that if the trucks wandered off the route, you just pull them over and cite them.
They sometimes can deviate if their business is off a truck route, and I think people don't understand that. And if they get lost and are forced to take a turn,
Right.
how do you penalize them for that? But I think there was some confusion because it seemed like a lot of trucks were
Yes.
coming down Sioux,
Yes.
and I had supposed that maybe it was because there was so much construction on the 3rd and 2nd Street intersections that perhaps they were being pushed to 4th and 5th Street, and then they got confused about where to go, but.
Okay. Al, I think you had something.
Yeah, I think one part of the proposal we haven't talked about, that is informing drivers of this public safety area, what the fine will be, and I think that's a crucial element.
It'll be signage.
It'll say on the sign?
To do that, where it says, you know, don't park here, it's gonna cost you $300 or some such language. And I'd like to, as long as we're talking about some trucks off the truck route, is perhaps in those areas where we designate signage that says no trucks, and then there's another indication that, you know, the fine is a certain amount or whatever it might be, and if it's only $10 maybe, then we need to look at that as well, because I'm with Councilperson Alexander and others on council. I've noticed a lot more trucks off of the designated truck routes just this summer, more than I've seen, you know, down the middle of Huff Street on Broadway. That was just today. So, yeah, I'm sure maybe other citizens have noticed that as well. I think it's becoming an issue. Maybe we do need to spend some more time not only on this issue, but the general route of how trucks get through our community for the benefit not only of the community, but also of truck drivers and people, you know, firemen.
Okay, George?
Up in that neighborhood, the truck routes that we're talking about, and they all appear to be a little weird up there. 5th Street is a truck route. You take a left onto McBride, you go 2 blocks on a truck route, then you take a left to head up to the Watkins building, which is not a truck route. And I agree, I hear from people all the time, there's trucks coming down Huff Street. Huff Street is not constructed for trucks. There's trucks traveling east on 2nd Street. When you get to Franklin, it ends there. Take a right to 3rd to continue straight. How many blocks can you go off of a truck route to make your delivery? When I first got working with truckers years ago, I heard it was you can go 2 blocks off of a truck route.
There's no designation as the number of blocks, it just, the wording is something to the effect of the most direct route.
Okay.
So, really leaves that open for the distance.
So I guess I'm wondering, when that Watkins building was built and we were going to have semis, I mean, why did we not, of course it's before my time, I'm glad to say, why did we not have something wider in there then for those trucks to turn around in there? Like I say, they mainly ran straight trucks, so that's all.
Okay. Anybody else have anything? I think we've got a general idea what we want to do here.
So we'll bring back the revised ordinance for council at the next meeting.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
And item 5.7 is to extend the cable TV franchise agreement for Charter Communications to January 31st, 2020.
Make a motion to adopt the attached resolution.
I'll second that.
Motion by-
Maybe by this time it's more like 5th, right?
Right. I think it's like 9th for me. I feel like we've, every year.
Motion by Michelle and seconded by Pam. Discussion?
Yeah. Maybe another facetious comment tonight. Maybe we can bill the cable company for the staff and legal time that we spent on 9 or 6 more times that we've had to leave times. I doubt there's a provision to do that, but again, it would be nice for our citizens and taxpayers.
Okay.
That's,
Anything else?
ridiculous.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Item 7.1 is council concerns.
We'll start with Al.
Thank you. I understand we got a memo from our city manager a couple of days ago, in fact, on last Wednesday, that the plaque, the dedication plaque that was removed from the wall of our Lake Park Historic Van Shell has been returned to the Park Recreation Department, and our understanding is it will be reinstalled at some future date and in a much more secure manner. So I'm really excited. I mean, I'm really pleased to have that part of our history soon to be returned to its place, because the Van Shell, you know, is going to, it is 100 years old anyway, so
Will be.
will be, yeah, so more appropriate. And I wish everybody a happy and safe 4th of July on Thursday, keeping in mind, as long as we have the police chief here, our Minnesota rules regarding fireworks that are not always obeyed. They're kind of noisy sometimes at 11 o'clock at night. I understand when I was coming to the meeting tonight, the semaphores are being installed at Huff and Highway 61. So after a week or so of no action on that project, I was beginning to wonder. And now tonight, they are being installed, and hopefully the lightning won't hit them as they're being installed. And also, happy Canada Day today, our friends and neighbors to them. Thank you.
Eileen?
Nothing from me.
Okay, Michelle?
Congratulations to Tom Locke on 50 years of business in the city of Winona. That's pretty phenomenal. I have a question for you, Keith, so I'm really glad you're here. Some of the neighbors out in the East End have been inquiring when their road may be repaired, Old Highway 43. They're getting anxious now to see that repaved. Do we know when the construction is going to start in the city?
Mayor and council, every year we're subject to when the contractor wants to come and do the overlays. We don't know when that'll happen out there, but it's, when they come, they hit it all at one time and pretty much get it done, but I don't know.
So would the city object to using some fill on the giant potholes they have out there?
No, we would not.
Maybe we could do that for them until we can get it. Thank you, Keith. That's all I have.
Okay, Pam?
Yes, I would like to wish everyone a happy 4th of July. I plan to be down at the levee for our town party. The Live at the Levee event sounds great. It brought to mind a question, though. I just wonder, what's our progress in getting some kind of a shade structure built on the levee? I know it was kind of stalled waiting for the Army Corps response. Have we gotten any further with that part of the plan?
Mayor and council, no update on that. I mean, the Corps has primarily said no to the structure that we proposed.
Right.
We're very close to officially closing out that project. We just did the last piece that was within that contract. And then staff can bring forward, I guess, a recap of what funds may be available to go forward with
Okay.
other entities in the project. So,
I think there are a variety of possible shade structures that wouldn't upset the Army Corps.
and
I-
locations, correct.
Yeah, right, and I just think that would be one great improvement to a great park.
Yes, primarily the comments have been positive. The common comments we hear are shade, public bathrooms, and drinking fountains. So we've got one of the 2 drinking fountains installed now. So really the comments are those public restrooms and shade.
Where is the drinking fountain?
We put a drinking fountain, it had already been plumbed in, but we had put a drinking fountain right behind the water feature is the best way to describe
okay.
it. So to the west of the water feature.
On that sidewalk heading towards the boathouse.
Good. Anything else, Pam?
No,
Okay, Paul?
Yeah, Keith, since you're here. And you do such a good job. I come into town a lot and cross for the 3rd time, Highway 43, when it's on Sarnia at the Lakeview there at Carmona. And we have a pedestrian crossing there. A bike path comes out. And I've had issues with cars not stopping for pedestrians there. And I've seen other pedestrians almost get nailed by automobiles or trucks. Is there a way we can get a flashing pedestrian light there or crossing so that peds and cyclists have a safer way to get across? Because we're essentially directing traffic to cross there by having the path come out. And I just like it to make it a little safer for pedestrians there.
You're not talking Hamilton, you're talking.
No, I'm talking at 1 block east.
It's where that trail comes in, just,
Right in the middle, kind of in the middle of the
Yeah.
park.
Yep.
just to the other side of
And
Lakeview.
it gets used a lot more than we think.
Honestly, I'll have to look at that one.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
know it's there,
there's-
but you're right, nobody's expecting it there.
Nobody's expecting it. We get a lot of people coming around the right side of vehicles there because one vehicle is slowing for a pedestrian and then all of a sudden, well, what are you doing? Turning and,
Which is why the 3 lanes are safer than the 4 lanes.
Yeah. so,
It's state highway too, so that complicates it
I know.
as well, so, but yes, we'll look into it further.
I'd appreciate that. And I know George will relate to this comment from the 60s. We'll see you at the levee.
Yes.
All right, George?
In a 57 Chevy, right?
And a 57
So,
Chevy or something like that.
Thank you. Yeah, Michelle, I talked to the same person you did, and I talked with Brian here probably a couple of weeks ago, And when the city's mill and overlay is intended to start, it's going to be later this summer. Because I know that, I guess the plant is not moving and they're hauling everything down around Dresbach and Dakota. It's just one 30,000 or 40,000 pound load after another. And she's eating the blacktop up too. At least it's dropping some. They can fill the holes back in. So, Keith, I left you a message on this. A public utility or a cable company, HBC, Spectrum, Charter, whatever, do they have authority to bury cable, or what is the rule to bury cable on private property?
Only if it's a service line. If it's a main line or something, no, they don't. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's my interpretation and understanding is the service lines, yes, of course they can.
Service line going to the house.
Right. Quite often people don't understand there's usually easements that are utility easements, maybe in the front, there may be some in the back.
Okay.
And you have to check to see if those are there in the first place. But otherwise, they can't just go across your yard without an easement.
Okay, all right, thank you. And also this past weekend, congratulations to John Laska with his bow fishing tournament. For those that had a chance to get down that way, I've never seen such monster boats with lights and I know you've seen that, and all those airboats. And I said to one couple of people, I said, well, they said, where are you from? They were from Rhode Island or someplace. And I said, how do you like it here? He said, very nice. They hope they come back again. And he said, everybody treated us well. People looked at all of our equipment, and that could be a very, very, very big event. I said, did you leave any carp out there for us? Well, he said it was kind of light, he said, so he only took maybe 1,000 out, I don't know. So there's probably, about 10,000 down there. And then also, we're on boat launches and things tonight too, along with Prairie Island. Some people have brought to my attention that we're a river town. People are constantly going on the river. The park maintenance and street department is doing what they can do to keep these boat launches, in pretty decent condition. Is there something, Mr. Manager, we can put together looking at all these, the East End, St. Charles, Prairie Island, Dix Marine, McNally Landing? Well, let's get these taken care of once and for all in solid, so, because they're getting washed out by the floods. And they just, and of course, take a little beating with the boats. But they understand we're doing what we can do in the water. But all of our landings and ramps, I believe, probably could use some updating. So, and Chief, what is the rule for 4th of July fireworks? Because you're going to have it Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night. Sunday. She's probably going to be a 4-weekend job. So.
Already started.
I was gonna say, my neighborhood's been
And
going
some
on for a
probably
couple
already
days.
started, so.
Same everything.
Same every night, okay, so. All right, thank you.
Thank you, George.
Under the consent agenda, there is one item, the approval of the minutes from June 17th.
Second.
Motion by Al, seconded by Eileen. Discussion, hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Mayor, I move we adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.
All right.
24. I sent you